When you start school, leadership feels possible for everyone. In year prep and year one, everyone gets a turn. Line leader, class helper, leader of the day, leader of the week, and the temporary class captain badge that goes around to everyone. At just 5 years old, no one has taught you yet to shrink. You're not afraid to be yourself. You speak up when you have something to say. You share your ideas without overthinking because at such a young age, you're completely oblivious to the unspoken rules of conformity. And honestly, that is not a bad thing. I was that authentic little girl who wanted to be a leader. And every year, year 2, year 3, year 4, and 5, I tried for some sort of leadership role. And every single year, I watched someone else get picked. Someone with amazing qualities, like having more friends to vote for them than me. But no one can stay oblivious forever. Eventually, you realize the game is rigged and you stop trying to play it. You begin wondering, maybe leadership does belong to someone else. Maybe I'm not good enough. And as you grow older, school starts to change too. Popularity starts to matter, friend groups start to matter. Being academic becomes something you hide because you can become a nerd. And slowly, a lot of students learn the same survival skill. Become smaller. Don't answer too many questions. Don't ask too many questions. Don't raise your hand too much. Pretend to be less than you are. Don't care too much. Be nonchalant. There is actually a name for this, tall poppy syndrome, which sounds a lot more like a gardening term than a social phenomenon. It's the idea that if you grow too tall, you'll be cut down. And I think the saddest part about this is that many young people learn to shrink themselves before they even get a chance to grow. At 10 years old, along with everyone else, I was preparing speeches for the student leadership elections. It was just before year 6 started, and there were so many opportunities. School captain, arts captain, ministry captain, sports captain, and many more. So many chances. This was finally my year, right? Now, around the same time, I was working on a school project called Democracy, Power of the People. My goal was to show just how much power an ordinary citizen has. And I wanted to do more than just talk about it, I wanted to actually prove it. So, as part of my project, I reached out to my local council for permission, I gathered up books, and I set up a local community library in my recreation centre. Because at the time, if you lived in Greenville and wanted to visit a library, you had to travel all the way to Broadmeadows or Craigieburn, as we didn't have one there. I love books, and I knew our community needed a space for them, so I took action. Now, some time passed, and a councillor named Kurt, who was actually mayor at the time, checked in to see how the project was going. This opened the door for me to take the project even further, and I ended up getting the opportunity to interview him. I asked him questions about leadership, politics, and what voting actually means, and I realised something. You shouldn't vote for who is the coolest, but for who genuinely cares. And I know this ideology may seem obvious now, but believe me, it was not in primary school. Now, some time passed, and I wanted to finish, and when I finished presenting the project, I wanted to show it to my class before the student elections, but I was told no because it could influence the votes. And you know what? Maybe it should have. Not to get more votes for me, which would be unlikely, but to make people think about why they were actually voting for someone in the first place. Some time passed, and the mayor emailed me because I told him I was applying, and he wanted to know how the elections went. I told him the unfortunate news, and he wrote back to me, and he said something that I still remember to this day. One does not require a specific title to lead. In my eyes, you're already a leader. This moment was an eye-opener for me because I realised I did not need anyone's approval to be a leader. That was the moment I stopped waiting for permission and I started taking initiative. And since then, I became a young leader, a youth counsellor, and eventually a class captain. But by the time I received that title, I realised leadership was never about the badge or the title, but the person wearing it. Now, that little girl thought leadership was a badge someone handed to her. But I now know it's something that runs much deeper. It's noticing a need, it's caring enough to act, and it's helping others even when no one votes for you. Do you know that shape-sorting baby toy? Well, imagine trying to fit a square into a circle cutout. Obviously, it doesn't fit, so you keep breaking off pieces to make it fit. And I think a lot of young people do that to themselves. They break off pieces of who they really are, their personality, their creativity, their uniqueness, just to belong. But belonging was never meant to cost us ourselves. Even today, after everything, I still find myself worrying about being too much, still feeling nervous about standing out. But I stop and I remind myself, that I'm enough. I want you all to raise your hand. Okay, you can all lower your hands now. I want you to raise your hand again, but this time I want you to reach up and stretch as far as you possibly can. Okay, you can all lower your hands now. What stopped you the first time? Were you nervous about people staring at you? Were you afraid of being the only one reaching the highest? This is tall poppy syndrome happening right now in this very room. You shrink yourself before others can judge you. You limit yourself before anyone can make a remark on you. And I think the saddest part about this is that you could spend your whole life waiting for permission to stand out, completely blind to the fact that you are the one holding your arm down. So if you remember anything from tonight, let it be that you do not need to shrink yourself to belong. Thank you.